Hello and welcome back to Getting Open with me, Andrea Miller. Oh my gosh, parents, this episode is for you. It is so compelling, if I do say so myself, and honestly, filled with so many actionable takeaways. And let me just give you a little taste for what you're going to get. How to deal more effectively when things go wrong with your kids. And let's face it, things are always going wrong with your kids because that's just the nature of parenting. When they're defiant, when they're rude, when they're difficult, when they're dysregulated, what genuinely to do so that parenting can feel so much better and easier. Yes, I am keeping it real. You know, I keep it real with you. How not to nag. Oh my God, what to do that's more effective than discipline. This is one of my favorite shows as a parent that cares so deeply about my kids and so deeply about you as a parent with your kids. I mean, we're in it together, guys. So with no further ado, let's get into it. Alyssa Blask Campbell is a parent of 2 kids, a New York Times bestselling author, the CEO of Seed and Sow, a podcaster and influencer, and an emotional development expert with a master's degree in early childhood education. Alyssa also co-created the collaborative emotion processing method, which we will talk about, and is on a mission to change the way adults experience children's emotions so we can respond with intention to raise emotionally intelligent humans. We're going to go real deep there. And her wonderful new book, Big Kids, Bigger Feelings, Navigating Defiance, Meltdowns, and Anxiety to Raise Confident, Connected Kids, is out today. Woo! Congratulations, Alyssa. It's a big accomplishment. And I'm feeling good about another New York Times under your belt. Congrats.
Hey, thanks. Love that. Bring that energy. Let's go.
I mean, I got it for you, girl. And by the way, just before, guys, you're going to love Alyssa if you're not familiar with her previous book, Tiny Humans, Big Emotions. It's epic. So, I mean, you got 2 possibilities depending on how old your kids are. But you can order it right now. Get your download on Kindle. Go to your favorite bookstore. But let's get into this new book. There are a lot of parenting books out there. What makes this one different? What motivated you to write it?
Yeah, totally. I have no desire to do what's been done, right? That fires me up none. So for me, anytime I'm creating something, it's, there's a gap here or in the system that I want to shift or change. Our work really helps folks understand their child's and their own unique nervous system. That when I have a family of 4. So I have 2 kids who are totally different humans. My husband and I are totally different humans. And if
Hang on, how old are your kids?
4 and 1.
Oh, you're littles. In it. You're in it.
Okay, sister. And my co-author for Big Kids has an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. And the bulk of our work actually at Seed is in elementary schools and middle schools. So we've been doing this work with kids and thousands of kids and families and teachers for years. And what we kept finding was kind of a one-size-fits-all to regulation, that people were like, give them a sensory seat for some kids. We're like, okay, which seat? When do they need it? How often do they need it? In what capacity do they need it?
What's a sensory seat?
Yeah, so like a different seat that they could sit on, like something that wobbles or moves or whatever. And but nobody knew like who gets what, when, why, how. And then they might say things like, oh yeah, we're going to give this kid a soft start at school. Or when my child's upset, I'm going to offer them a hug or validate their feelings. It's like, cool. For some kids, yeah, that's really helpful for them to hear what happened and get that validation and feel connected with your touch. And other kids are like, stop talking to me, stop touching me, leave me alone. I need space. And then I'll be able to circle back to you. And what we do is help you figure out which one your kid is. Like, who are they? What drains their nervous system? What recharges their nervous system? And what's their connection blueprint? Like, how do you connect with that unique child? Because some kids feel like a leaky cup if we don't know how they receive connection.
Well, totally. And as I mentioned right before we started on the recording, my boys are 12 and 15. And I mean, I am glad to say I've raised the greatest kids ever. I call them my uninvited Buddhas because they have taught me so much. I am a self-avowed type AAA Aries alpha mom. And so what I can say is somebody who tries so hard when I, as a mom, have been trying so hard and it doesn't work, there's nothing more painful. There's nothing more painful because then, I mean, unlike so many of us, and we're going to go deep into this because it feels like you're so much about really helping us as parents. Like we think it's about our kids, but it's really about us.
That's right.
And so this idea,
1-2 punch.
No, it really is. It's like having kids is like the most humbling thing I've ever done. and like, oh my God, helping me grow and so forth. But it's this idea of like, what does my kid need when I'm getting it wrong? Then I start getting ratcheted up emotionally back to the nervous system thing. And it's like, oh my God, I'm trying so hard. And yet it's like, can I just get the tool? So I appreciate your point of what a gap there is in the market because everybody is different. So what are when you think about kind of the key things that parents need to do differently and know, I mean, and I realize I'm asking almost like a one size fits all, like, is there one or two things that we as parents, we should know about our kids so that we don't make that mistake of like, oh my God, I'm trying too hard and they're not responding. And now I'm making it worse because my nervous system is getting dysregulated.
Totally. So I think we've gotten so in a social media parenting world, we've looked outside so much in a way that I want to help us look more internally. We are the experts on our kids. We know who our kids are. And if I pull back and I'm just like, even from the time they were born, Sage and Mila are my kids. And Sage was a very different baby from Mila. They're very different humans from the minute they came out, what they liked, how they slept, how they navigated the world. And if I just tune into that, if I'm aware of that, it's going to give me a lot of information about their nervous system. And we've gotten so into looking outside of ourselves and saying like, wait, okay, I'm not supposed to say you're okay. What am I supposed to say in this moment? Or what am I supposed to do? Right. And that we have lost the ability to just tune into like, who are they? If I pay attention to their body language or their words, what are they telling me right now? And we in Big Kids included a QR code, but it goes to seedquiz.com. So anybody who's listening right now, seedquiz.com is totally free. We worked with a group of occupational therapists to put this questionnaire together that helps you understand your kid's unique nervous system. You can do it for any age, kiddo or adult. In fact, what's been so cool is that outside of our school systems, where we use this as a resource in a paid version, outside of that, the overwhelming majority of humans who have taken the questionnaire so far are adults taking it for themselves.
I was going to literally okay, we're mind melding because I'm like, okay, I want to take it for myself. Not going to lie.
Yeah. Well, it's so helpful, right? Like I, for myself, have learned that I'm sound sensitive. So if we think of our nervous system, we have the 5 senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. We have 4 others. We have interoception that lets us know, like, am I hungry? Am I tired? Do I have to go to the bathroom? Is my heart beating fast? All those kind of internal cues. We have our vestibular system. It's responsible for our movement and balance. It's located in your inner ear. And that's where you might get like motion sickness, right? Vertigo. And some people are vestibular sensitive. That's where the motion sickness comes in. Some people are vestibular seeking. They're like, I need a swivel chair at work when I'm sitting so I can kind of spin or move or kind of have a little bounce. They might, in like a yoga pose, love a down dog, where other people are like, no, thanks, that's not for me. We have our proprioceptive sense. This lets us know where our body is in space. So I have low proprioceptive awareness. I constantly have like bruises on my leg from bumping into my bed that in years has never moved. That frame has been in the same spot all the time. But I cannot navigate it and just like always have a bruise on my leg from this. That's our proprioceptive sense. It lets us know where our body ends and something else begins. And for people like me who have lower proprioceptive awareness, as kids, this can show up as they can't stop moving. They're like climbing everything. They're jumping, or they hug too hard. They push too hard. They go to sit next to somebody as a tiny human and they sit on their lap instead of next to them. And they can be like a bull in a china shop as their body's learning where it ends and something else begins. And then we have our neuroceptive sense. This is what I call our spidey sense. It reads the energy of the room. You know, if you've like walked into a room and people have been fighting or like in conflict and they're not anymore, but you could feel it and you're like, oh, this is awkward. That's your neuroceptive sense. Correct. That's your neuroceptive sense at work. And for some folks, if they're are neuroceptive sensitive humans, they really read that energy in a heightened way. So all that nonverbal communication that happens, they're hyper aware of and sensitive to. It can lead to empathy. It can also lead to things like codependency. Like, I need you to be okay for me to be okay. So when we look at these 9 senses, we are all sensitive to some of them. They drain us, and we're seeking others. They recharge us. I'm sensitive to sound. I'm seeking proprioceptive input, that like big body play, that deep pressure. I'm like made for perimenopause with a weighted vest. I need that extra weight and like love a human in my body. I love a kickboxing class. Like, that's up my alley. I'm vestibular sensitive. So I sit in an office chair that is stationary, that does not move. My husband's vestibular seeking. He sits in an office chair that can swivel and move. So we're looking at these, we're looking at what drains us, what recharges us. When we understand that about ourselves, it lets us know, how can I access calm and regulation, and what's going to make me fly off the handle? That I know that as a sound sensitive human, bless him, he's incredible, but I married a drummer. And so at like 8 a.m, when he's tapping the song that's in his head at the table and I've had a good night of sleep and things are fine, it's fine. But at like 6 p.m. when he's doing it and everybody's on fire and hangry and fried from the day, then I want a divorce when he's tapping that song at the dinner table. And so being able to recognize that, right? Of like, of course I do, because I'm sound sensitive and my nervous system's fried and I'm trying to do everything I can for the kids and our family unit. And you're just draining me with this tapping of this song.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they say we marry the person that can be our greatest teacher, and then I think our kids, right, are, I always call my boys my little Buddhas. Maybe I'd said that. So when it comes to what we do with that information, because I'm just gonna like getting right into it. Like, I mean, like Mike Tyson says, I mean, everybody has a plan to get punched in the face, right? And so when I think about it's when our kids get dysregulated or they do something, they're rude, they're getting really aggressive. Hey, I've asked you to take the dishes out of your room 3 times. You're still not. Now I'm getting agitated, and now you're telling me that I mean, this may be a theoretical or maybe real. now because I've asked you the 4th time, asking for a friend. Right now, I'm trying to stay calm, but now you're giving me blowback, and I'm like, wait, what? It's not on me, bro. It's on you. What do we do in those moments when it's like we know there's a lot that we know, and self-awareness is so important. And yet it feels like self-awareness goes out the window when we get activated as parents. So what do we do?
100% it does. Yeah. So what we're talking about here is actually self-control. We want to be able to control our tone, control our words, control our actions. And in order to access self-control, you have to be in a regulated state. You have to have access to your prefrontal cortex, your rational thinking part of your brain. And you only access that when you're in a regulated state. And regulated doesn't mean calm. It means that your nervous system can access that part of your brain. You can't regulate what you're not aware of. So when you're getting activated, when your heart starts to race, when you're getting fired up and you're like, for the love of everything holy, bring the dishes out of your room, and everything is like bubbling up inside you. If we're not noticing, oh my God, I'm going to explode, then we can't regulate in that moment, because you can't regulate what you're not aware of. So often, for so many of us, we are, after we explode, then trying to regulate. What we work with folks on for themselves as adults and then for kids is how to build self-awareness, how to start to notice it. My son calls this as a volcano's building, like before that volcano erupts.
Smart kid. Yeah.
He's wicked smart. Talk about your greatest teacher. We are a sensory mismatch and a connection mismatch. So parenting him requires a lot of my work in practice. Bless. And that's what our kids do, right? Like my daughter and I are a sensory match and a connection match. And so parenting her, I can do a lot from my subconscious where her needs are very similar to my needs. It doesn't take as much for me to decode her behavior because it makes more sense to me and how my brain operates. And my son's nervous system's different. And so it requires just like more of my capacity to get curious on why isn't he bringing the dishes out of his room? For my daughter, I'd be like, oh yeah, she's probably like playing a game with a friend and she doesn't want to leave connection because she's high connection seeking. And so for her, being able to leave that game and do the thing feels really hard. Cool. How can I support her connection needs so that she can do the task at hand? For him, he's not as connection seeking. And so if I really stepped back and got curious with him, I would probably notice, oh, for him, task management's really hard. So keeping track of tasks and knowing what has to come next is not something that comes very easily to him. And my husband's very similar, that if my husband doesn't write it down somewhere or have some sort of list, it's not going to happen. It will not just be like, oh yeah, here's what I'm supposed to do next. And that's how my son is. And so when the dishes aren't coming down over and over and over, and I've asked you 4 times, for him, it's, oh, I got caught up in this thing and fully forgot, usually is the pattern. And so when I can pull back and get curious about why isn't this happening, then I can create a plan for how do we make it happen.
Well, and I love that. Honestly, I love that. And the curiosity is such a freaking superpower. I mean, it's such, and I think I'm going to take a leap here and say, I don't think you can be real curious if you're dysregulated.
You cannot.
Right?
Yeah. No.
Mm-hmm. And, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. Well, it's just almost impossible. I was just thinking of like the other day, I have that like magical hour in my household where I parent the children before my husband comes home from work.
Sounds
and everyone's
magical.
Like, oh, it's so lovely.
Sounds beautiful. Can I come over?
Everyone's so, please come over. Everyone's so chill after school. No one
Bring
wants
the tequila.
my attention. That's right, girl, and some limes. And it's like often just kind of a shit show, right? Its own version of a shit show every day. And he walked in at 5:15 the other day. And he was like, hey, what's for dinner? And I was like, nope. Yeah, no, wrong question. There are a number of questions you could ask right now, but that's not one of them. Like, hey, do you need a break? Do you want a minute? Do you need to tap out? Do you need help with dinner? Is there anything I can do to be helpful? Like, I've got a bunch of questions you could ask. Hey, what's for dinner? Isn't where we're going.
That's like, hilarious.
What? And it's
poor guy, because he's just walking in, just thinking it's like he's whatever.
Poor Zach. Poor Zach. You're right. His role's harder in this moment, Andrea. Poor Zach. But when he comes in, I'm not curious at all about his experience. I can't be because I'm dysregulated. Right? I'm also not accessing self-control where I'm like, you know what's going to be the best thing for my marriage? Sarcasm, snippiness, being rude, right? I'm not like choosing that. I'm dysregulated. So I'm acting from a place of dysregulation. I'm reacting instead of responding with intention. Responding with intention is where we access curiosity.
Yeah. Well, totally. And I say that, I mean, oh my God, I feel like, so my husband's name is Sanjay, and I've had that moment so many times where it's like, bro, and it's like, but they really are innocent. Like they're just walking in like, yo, what's up? Right. And we're like, you're an idiot. Can't you see? Can you read my mind?
Last hour has been a disaster.
Yeah. And so and guess what? I mean, both are true. Right. It's like, wouldn't it be great? But I always feel like we are each other's mirrors. We are each other's mirrors. Right. And I feel like you can be a chaotic. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit of a chaotic mirror sometimes, but like that self-awareness takes you so far. I mean, so I can, I remember when our kids were that age, and it can still be chaotic when they're 12 and 15. I mean, of course. Right. And so that it's like, hey, I need to kind of own my own regulation. And even if I'm like here, like people can't see me, but for those listening, my arms are waving like above my head, like I'm up here and my husband just walks in, for me to, like you say, Alyssa, like kind of be sarcastic and annoyed. It's like, well, then that's just that perpetuates more of the same. And it feels totally rational and warranted in that moment. But that's where the whole mirror thing comes in versus, hey, babe, You know what would feel really good right now? Like asking for what we want versus freaking being mad that
Even
our spouses
doing
are
it in
such
a rude
idiots.
tone, right? Like, I think there's also this idea out there that we're going to like respond to our kids and our partners in this really kind way all the time. And it's just bullshit. Like, you're going to have hard feelings. You're going to be dysregulated. There is not a world in which we do, quote, all the right things. And yeah, everybody's regulated and there's harmony all the time. It's not the goal. We're meant to cycle in and out of regulation and dysregulation. Unless you have like a hormonal imbalance, we are going to cycle in and out of regulation and dysregulation throughout the day. And so even if in that moment I could access enough regulation or self-control to be able to, even in a rude tone, be like, hey, that doesn't feel helpful right now. I actually need to tap out. Can you just tap in for a minute? That's way more helpful than me being like, nope, wrong question, right? Like, but it doesn't have to be the kindest tone. And same with our kids. We can't expect our kids to be pissed at something and have like this kind, regulated tone and be like, excuse me, mom, when you say that, it makes me feel like this. And I want to, like, no, that's not how relationships work. That's not how it's gonna happen all the time. And I think we end up getting really annoyed with kids for doing what we also do.
Well, totally. But I guess I think we're on the same page, but I want to make sure because I agree we're going to cycle in and out of dysregulation. What I've experienced in my own life, I mean, it has been like a miracle as I've chilled out. I mean, it's not a miracle at all. It's like the most fucking obvious thing in the world. It's like as I've done much more meditation, much more mindfulness. I mean, I have hacked my nervous system like nobody's biz. And it has made a profound difference. So in part, yes, we're always going to cycle in and out, but my family's cycles are a lot smaller rather than they used to go like real big. And it just feels, I mean, it's safer in my home. It's more joyful. It's more harmonious. I mean, we still make mistakes. We're so big on making repairs in our home. But when I think about my role as a mom, and that's why I was really excited to talk to you because it's so validating to me as a parent. I mean, honestly, and I say it like this is getting open. I keep it real. Like I got it wrong a lot and I feel bad. And I've just really been working on like, okay, getting it wrong, like yelling too much, overreacting, like that wrong, not like extreme wrongs, but still, and I know there's a consequence to my kids in that they, what they've learned at times is my big emotions aren't safe. Rather than my mom calming me, she's getting dysregulated. And now everything is chaotic, right? And I keep it real like that because I think that is the experience with probably most families. And I guess I want to say it's okay, but like what are the ways that parents can then do it differently, recognizing that I totally agree. It's so much less about what we say. I mean, kids are mirroring our energy. They are mirroring our nervous system. So it's back to, even if I'm saying the same things as a parent, the fact that I've done my meditations and I am so much calmer in my body, I'm showing up differently.
Yeah, totally. Well, in Tiny Humans, we dive deep into the STEP method, collaborative emotion processing, that you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, I would love. Why don't you talk about that? That was one of my burning questions, and let's just get into it because I mean, guys, this is considered revolutionary. It is taught in schools. This is a big deal. So yeah, will you just walk us through that and how people can learn it?
Totally. Yeah. And that's what you're talking about now. So we were teaching and we found that there wasn't a comprehensive method for doing this. And so we created it and then we partnered with Brandeis University and researched it. And it's really, the research is shared a lot in Tiny Humans. And it looks at 5 components for building emotional intelligence. One is adult-child interactions. One is how we interact with the kids. The other 4 are about us. And that's what you were just talking about, that we have our own self-awareness work of what's happening for us so we can notice before we're exploding. We have uncovering our implicit biases. These are those stories we're telling ourselves that we grew up hearing, they're old enough to know better than this, or those little phrases that I wrote in Tiny Humans. Sometimes I open my mouth and my mom comes out, and like sometimes that's great. Sometimes I totally want to pass that on. But like sometimes I've spent a lot of time, money, and therapy trying to not pass that on. And so now what do you do with it? And really noticing like, what are those things My friend Lynetta calls them legacy blessings and legacy burdens. Legacy blessings being those things we do want to pass on that we're like, yeah, I learned this from my childhood and it's a value I still hold and would like to share. And then legacy burdens being, I learned this in my childhood and it's not a shared value anymore and it's not something I want to pass on. And we can't decide, is this something I'm going to pass on or not until we're aware of them. So really building awareness of what is coming up for us in the moment. What is the story I'm telling myself about this behavior in the moment? And then we have self-care. That's where we dive into how do you take care of your unique nervous system? What does that look like for you in those 9 sensory systems? And then we have scientific knowledge where we look at exactly what you were just talking about, that mirror neuron aspect of our nervous systems communicate. That if I come in and I'm like stoked, when Tiny Humans hit the New York Times bestseller list, we do what's called Summer Thursdays at my house, where our backyard's open. Anyone in the neighborhood can come and hang at my house. And we have a cooler out. You can drop drinks in, the grill's on. You can fire up food if you want, like bring your own dinner and drinks and just hang.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a good idea. I like that. I like that legacy blessing. I don't know if maybe that came from your family or not, but I like it. I want to adopt that.
It kind of does. Yeah. My dad's a big parrot head, like Jimmy Buffett fan.
Oh, and fun. Yeah. I bet there's some good margaritas there too then. I mean, I was talking about tequila a little while ago. I had the right idea.
On, girl. But he used to put this parrot, this like super tacky parrot, it was in our front yard, and he would turn it on. And when the parrot was on, everyone in the neighborhood knew, like, Mike's out at the tiki bar in the backyard. You can stop by and hang. And so it's kind of our version of the parrot in the front yard. But we're at Summer Thursday, and I got this call from our agent and that it hit the bestsellers list. And I came out and I was like so psyched, and I shared it. And all of a sudden, this energy of like all these humans around us, everyone joined this excitement, right? Like that's contagious. Feelings are contagious. Our nervous systems connect with each other. And in the same way, when my kid's having like a meltdown at the grocery store or is screaming in my face, that's contagious. Then we have the opportunity as the adult to either be a thermometer and read the temperature of the room and join it, or be a thermostat and set it. And that's what you were talking about. Where like,
okay, hang on. Rewind. Say that again.
Calmer. Yeah.
Say that again. Yeah. Say that again. I love that.
You have the opportunity to be that thermometer and read the temperature of the room and join it, or be a thermostat and set it. And that is what you're saying. Right? Like I walk in and the way that my work outside the moment impacts then in the moment, and me being able to say like, whoa, I don't know what's going on in here, but things got really heightened, or like we're really up and you're right now down. Your voice is low. Your body language is low. You're not screaming. You're setting the temperature. And then their nervous system gets to respond to yours.
Low and slow is what I've really tried to adopt. Like in the voice, like your point, this is something I've only learned relatively recently. Somebody described it, our voices are a magic wand. And I feel like, especially for women, a lot of times it's that little girl voice and it's like, and then, you know what I mean? And this is even beyond parenting, or, it goes into our professional lives and so forth, how we're asking a question when we're trying to get validation, using our voice so intentionally. And this is an episode principally about parenting toward the very best of our ability. So to me, like that low and slow, as somebody who can get ratcheted up, it's like, that's a hack. Because you can't be low and slow. And up here, you can only be low and slow if you've kind of tapped back into your parasympathetic nervous system. So voice to me is a hack to get calm. And then humming, I don't know if you like other kinds of things, like I'll do it an om. Yeah, that like you do that for a few seconds, or even singing. I have found okay, need to like get in my car and do a little car karaoke right now. But it's amazing to me how our voices, and you were about to give it. What is it? Is it the vagal nerve or what? Vagus nerve? Okay.
Yeah, polyvagal theory. So when you're looking at that, you are activating your vagus nerve, which is going to calm your nervous system. And it's a huge hack. And when we look at this, I kind of take a spin on Michelle Obama's like, when they go high, we go low, right? Like when they go high, when they get big, we're going to go low. I'm going to drop down. I'm going to drop my body language so I'm not physically powering over anybody. I am going to slow my voice down, like even the speed at which I'm talking. I was working with this kid in the school system that has high needs. It's a low-income community. There's a number of kids have at least one incarcerated parent, a lot of homelessness, a lot of kids being raised by grandparents. And we do a lot of work with the school district. And actually, we came in the first quarter from Q1 to Q2. We saw a 60% reduction in behavior support calls. All we focused on was the nervous system regulation throughout the school. That was it. And we had this little guy, he's 5, and a lot of trauma, really, really intense trauma. And he'd been removed from his mom's house and placed with his dad, who he didn't know yet. And they were living out of a motel. His dad had been homeless. And so they're living at a motel waiting for like state-sponsored housing. And he comes to school and we're obviously seeing huge behaviors. Ripping stuff off the wall. He's pulling the fire alarm, like throwing things. And the first time I met him, he's running through the hallway and the assistant superintendent's following behind him. And I just followed behind both of them. And she was just keeping him safe and in school. But like, if he's ripping stuff off the walls right now, fine. We're just going to keep him safe and in school. And he found himself into a little corner. In fact, we learned he always finds a little corner, like a little nook. And so he found a little corner and he kind of pushed himself into that corner as much as he could. And he's on high alert. He's like scanning the environment. And I just sat down on against the wall and I dropped my body down. I put my shoulders back. And this is a kid who's like, he's given teachers concussions. There's been a lot of like big physical behaviors. But I was like, I just want my nervous system to communicate with his, right? That's what I have most powerfully right now. And he hadn't met me yet. And so I dropped my shoulders back against the wall and I set my notebook down and I just, in as quiet and as calm of a tone as possible, I just told him who I was. I said, hey, buddy, my name's Alyssa. I'm not mad at you. You're not in trouble. And I'm just here with you. No rush. And just like slowly over the course of about 5 minutes, his nervous system started to shift. I would do these little check-ins with him and just say the same thing. And then I told him, you know what I noticed about you, bud? I noticed that you're so good at keeping yourself safe. That when your body didn't feel safe in your classroom, you found a place that felt safe. You're so good at that. And he just like softened. And then an assistant teacher from his classroom, very well-meaning, comes walking down the hallway with just big, excited energy. Hey, buddy, good to see you. Like, but loud and big. And he like tensed up. And I was like, oh, and I just put my hand up and I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring him back to the classroom in a little bit. Can we just have some space? And she was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, okay. Noted for later when I touch base with these teachers, like your energy matters so much, even if it's excited, even if it's big. Being able to tune into what does this kid need right now? And that low and slow is so powerful. And then when your kid is excited about something and they come home and they're like, oh my God, I made the soccer team or I got into drama or whatever, being able to get up there with them too, right? And that like allowing that to be contagious is just as important. So they don't receive a like, oh, wow, good job, bud. But they're like, wait, why is your body language saying something entirely different than your words?
Yeah. I mean, God bless you. You could see I was tearing up as you're telling me that story. I mean, and just for, I think of kids, in particular, the ones who have gone through the most generational trauma and how that is cycled through our society and how so many of us have gone through generational trauma, being raised by well-intentioned parents who were dysregulated themselves, addiction and trauma and abuse and PTSD and all these things. And it makes me so profoundly empathetic to that boy and just so grateful to you and your work and the teachers who are like, how can we, and the parents too, of course. But as parents are different than teachers. Teachers really are up here, right? In terms of choosing to be the people that go into those environments, knowing it's going to be some of the most beautiful, but also demanding emotional work of your lives.
It's exhausting.
And so just, what can I say? But fucking thank you. And for bringing,
Oh yeah.
But for real, it's called collaborative emotion processing method, CEP, to the schools and to the parents, because I feel like we're all doing the best we can, and there's so much ignorance, right? It's where it just feels like, and even, you're describing when you're going low and slow and you're sitting with that kid. And to me, what's amazing, in a lot of ways, it's not that hard. I mean, but it starts with the regulation of the parent. So when you're able as a parent to get back into your body, and that's what, I mean, to me, I used to always live in my head, and that's where things would get chaotic. I'm so much more tuned in to being in my body, in my heart. And then anything is, all the good stuff is possible, right? So many more options are available to me. But it's and in a way, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go.
I just think it's really important. You said something that I want to make a distinction about. When you're in your head, it's so much harder. It's more chaotic. Because in your head is where all those biases live of what should be happening, what shouldn't be happening, what the rules are, what do I enforce, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And living in that space is chaotic, right? It is hard. And if you can just tune back into your body.
Well, the judgments, it's like, you should be cleaning up your room. You should be making it easy. I mean, to me, if I'm being honest, you should be doing it for what I want, because, and not that I'm that egotistical about it, but it's like, you should be doing it because that's the right thing to do from my perspective as a parent. But that is a unilateral view. And when I'm wise, it's like, well, there's a bigger picture here. And that's where you were talking about, like, even your own kids. One is more into the connectivity. One needs a little more help. So then you throw all those shoulds out the window, and then you're really free to, like, meet them where they are, which is like, hallelujah.
That's so, exactly.
One of my friends likes to say, let's not should on each other.
Legit.
Let's not should on each other.
Not should on each other. And that,
or should on ourselves.
Or should on ourselves. I love this because when you're in your head, you are thinking also of, like, when that kid's, for instance, ripping stuff off the walls at school, the ASI, the assistant superintendent, could have very easily been like, we don't rip stuff off the walls at school. I won't let you do that. But she was able to recognize, we've worked at the school for a while, that that's not a boundary that really matters right now. That what really matters right now is that this kid is safe and starts to feel safe at school. And are we going to teach him that he can't rip stuff off the walls at school? Of course. Of course. Am I going to make him go back and, like, hang it up later? No, not right now. We're going to get to a point where maybe that's something we're working on. But right now, we're just working on how do you feel safe in this world at school? And then we're going to continue to stretch your rubber band. But I think this happens for us as parents a lot, where we find ourselves like, no, I set this boundary and I'm going to hold it, or this is the rule and I'm going to hold it. It's like, right now, it doesn't super matter. Like, maybe they were pissed about something from school and they came home and they yelled at you and they slammed the door in their room. And we're like, you cannot slam the door. You cannot yell at us. And that's where we're going into this from. Instead of being like, man, what happened at school? And later on, we talk about what can you do when you're having a hard time? But in this moment, what they need is connection and to feel seen and safe. And I might not even talk about it for a while. It might be like, damn, you didn't make the basketball team and that sucks. Do you want to talk about it now, or do you want to, like, go for a drive and listen to music, or binge watch a show and order takeout and have ice cream on the couch? And then we'll talk about it when you're ready. And then later we'll talk about what to do when you're so sad or disappointed or feeling rejected or left out that doesn't hurt somebody else or doesn't break the door. What are appropriate outlets for that? We'll talk about that way later. But in this moment isn't the time to have that chat.
So you talk a lot about, and you just used the word connection a second ago. You talk a lot in your work about the importance of regulation and connection. Let's go a little deeper, because I feel like we are, like, right at the edge of, like, all the glory and all the magic as parents, what to do better versus now you're going to be disciplined. That's not acceptable. Like, all the ego stuff, all the should stuff, which so many of us get it wrong. What should we be doing right? And I think the answer is in regulation and connection, but you tell me, you're the expert.
It for sure is in regulation and connection. And the doing it, quote, wrong part it makes sense to me because we're like, well, I have to teach this kid how they're supposed to show up in the world. And it's a huge fucking responsibility as a parent to teach a kid how to show up in the world.
Yeah, my kid was just extremely rude to me, extremely rude, right? And I asked 5 times politely, and now they've like pushed every button I never knew I had. And now it's like, oh my God, and now I'm still supposed to stay calm? Oh, okay, go, keep going.
And like, I wouldn't want somebody else to do that to them in a relationship, right? Like, I wouldn't want somebody to be a huge dick to them over and over and over, and for them to just be like, sure, let's continue to be friends. And so there's so much that gets wrapped up for us of like, what are we teaching them? How are we teaching, et cetera? And so being able to recognize that it's a long game, that we're building these skills in a long term.
It's the long game. Can you just say that again? Oh my God, parents, we are playing
It is a long game. It is not something that like you're going to say to them today and you're going to see a new skill tomorrow. It's the long game. We're raising humans to be functional members of society as their brain is still developing. It is a long game. They won't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex till their mid-20s. Like, this is a long time coming. And so recognizing that, and in the moment, we use what we call the triangle of growth. The triangle of growth is our approach to the in the moment. On the base of that triangle is what we have to meet first and foremost. It's sensory regulation. How do I help their nervous system feel safe? That's going to be our nonverbal communication. That's going to be the energy we're bringing into the room. It might be sometimes giving a kid space. It might be touch, like a hug or snuggling them. It depends on the kid and what fills their nervous system, which is where we come back to those 9 sensory systems. So we're starting there, like, who is this kid? How do I co-regulate with them? You do not learn to self-regulate without co-regulation. So recognizing we play a huge piece in this puzzle to them building self-reg
hang on, say that again. That's interesting. You can't co-regulate without self-regulation. Is that what you said?
You can't self-regulate without co-regulation. We learn self-regulation through co-regulation. For a lot of us, it starts right when a baby's born, if we have them from the minute they're born in our family, where we get a lot of reps in co-regulation when that baby's crying and we're snuggling them or whatever. And so they start to build these skills really young for a lot of kids if they're with us from the time they're born. And what we're doing there is teaching their nervous system how to regulate by borrowing our calm, by seeing it in us, by using our skills that we are going to bring to the table for them, whether it's a hug or it is space or it's quiet or it's talking. And this is where understanding our kids' nervous system is really helpful. So we're going to co-regulate to teach them how to self-regulate. And then we're going to move into emotional regulation. So after they are hugging you and they have that big cry, and then they get back to a feeling of safety and maybe calm, they are still going to feel the hard thing, that the sadness or the disappointment of not making the team, the sadness of not being invited to the group, feeling left out, doesn't just go away now that we're in a regulated nervous system. They're still with that feeling. This is where we get to do emotion processing work, where we get to let them know that it's safe to feel what they're feeling, because all of our feelings stay for a little bit and then they'll move on. And so when we're with this feeling, what's going to feel right or good in this moment when we're with this feeling? Is it helpful to talk about it? Is it helpful to not, and just to binge watch that show tonight and talk more about it tomorrow, or journal about it, or go for a run, or move your body, right? What is going to be helpful for being with this feeling instead of trying to escape it or avoid it? And then the top of that is language and communication. So once we have moved through it, what can we access to communicate about it? This could be conflict resolution. It could be problem solving. It could be moving on. And this is the work we often want them to jump to immediately, where we're like, this is the time where I'm going to be talking to them about their behavior, what else they could be doing differently, or how we express frustration, or what to do next time when you feel left out. This is where I'm accessing that. That's not until they have regulated their nervous system and moved through the emotion. Then we're talking about those things. But that's where we often go first.
I mean, totally. And to our peril, right? And so many of us, didn't learn it. And it's like, and again, and say that example where I'm talking to my kid and it's like, hey, I've asked you politely a number of times to do something, or you want to have a party and the date doesn't work and you're getting really ratcheted up and now you're being rude, you're being aggressive toward me. I'm trying to stay calm and I'm trying to solve this problem with you with sincerity. And let's say they freak out, and now I'm dysregulated, right? Like, and this is, you know, who knows what the thing is, but the example like holds for everybody, right? You started well, and then your kid's getting agitated for whatever reason. They're being rude. They're, again, maybe even aggressive, maybe even abusive, saying something really not okay. Then what do you do in that situation? You definitely don't go to language and communications. I know that now. But should you, I mean, if like in that case, if I'm like really like pissed, so I'm like, I didn't deserve that. I do a lot. By the way, what I know I shouldn't do, it's like, I do a lot for you. Like, don't do that. I've done it before. Try not to.
Yeah.
100%. But what should you do in that point when now things like your son said, okay, now you're in the volcano. Like the volcano is built and it is about to spew like Mount St. Helens.
Yeah. I want to acknowledge it first and foremost that like they're going to notice our nonverbal communication anyway. And I want to acknowledge it of like, whoa, that one hit me in the heart, or I'm feeling frustrated right now, or I'm mad right now. I need to calm me so that I can help you. And then you access your regulation. It is way more effective and supportive for their long-term emotional development for you to walk away from a child who's having a hard time to calm your nervous system to return to them calm than it is to react in a dysregulated state. Far more effective and supportive. What they learn is that you have hard feelings and you're responsible for your own regulation. That they don't need to get calm. They don't need to say certain words. They don't need to show up a certain way to be able to manage your regulation, but instead that you are responsible for your regulation. So when I say to them like, whoa, man, that was a lot. I need a minute. I'm going to go to my room. I'm going to come back in a minute. I love you. I'll be right back. As long as they are physically safe, I'm walking away from them. And I'm going to calm my nervous system and I'm going to come back. Outside the moment, we'll talk about that. I'm like, yeah, it's my job to be kind and calm and be able to support you. Sometimes I need to calm my body so that I can do that. I will always calm my own body. You don't have to do anything for that. And letting them know that is my responsibility. But I'm going to model that in the moment. And there's a lot of us grew up in households or cultures where maybe we got the cold shoulder or we were sent to a room or a timeout. And there was more of like an abandonment feeling where somebody left and they did not come back. And so for us in the moment as an adult, now it can feel, that can get triggered. We can feel like, oh my God, am I abandoning my child? And there's a huge difference between I'm letting you know how I'm feeling and I'm regulating and coming back to you than there is a like, you need to get it together before we're doing anything here.
No, it's so helpful to hear that. And I know I've had that experience before where I feel so hurt and I feel, those ancient wounds have gotten triggered where it's like, I leave out of anger without the responsibility part where I'm like, oh, you want to say, you're going to punish me. I'll punish you by being the one that abandons. And then it's like, there's hardly a worse sense of maternal guilt. And it's like, why do I do that to myself?
Yeah.
And my kid,
what it really does is disconnects us.
Total, that disconnection. It's like,
we're now,
like tearing your heart out.
And now what we want from kids is collaboration, cooperation, to do the non-preferred tasks, to share things with us, to be honest with us when they've made a mistake. And if you don't have connection at the root, in fact, Andrea, one thing I know to be so true in your household, having never been in your household, is that you have done a lot of intentional work to connect with your kids, with who they are, and really not gimmicky, not like, hey, how was your day? But really understand them and connect with them, because there's not a world in which you don't have those big highs and lows, or there's not a world in which you can navigate rupture and repair without connection, because repair means you're coming back into connection, which means you had it in the first place. You can't rupture something you didn't have. And so often we're seeing like, if you don't have that connection first, if you're not in relationship with this human, then they don't super care to tell you the truth, or they already feel like you're not throwing them a bone. You don't know who they are. You don't pay attention to who they are. And now they're not going to go out of their way to do the dishes for you or to clean up around the house for the family as a whole. The connection piece is so key to the rest of it. And we often want this to be a one-way street where we're like, I want to connect with you on my timeline in the way that I want to connect. And I want it to fill the cup and I want to kind of check that box and move on. And that's not how relationships work. It's not how relationships work. It's inconvenient often to be in relationship with other people where we had a plan for something and now they come home and they've had a hard day and they need us in a way we didn't anticipate. Or they come home and they're dysregulated and they need somebody to be there with them and through things with them in their hard, messy state. It's so friggin' easy to love a kid when they're easy and convenient. It's so much harder to let someone know that you love them. Yeah, and legit, or a friend or anybody. It's so much harder to love them when it's not convenient, when their brain is moving faster than their body, when they are having a hard time. It's so much harder to love them through that. And that's where real connection happens.
I mean, totally. I want to go and tweet, and I don't even tweet, or what do you even call it now? It's so inconvenient to be in a relationship. Hashtag Alyssa, Alyssa Blask Campbell says. I mean, but it's true, right? I mean, it's hilarious and tragic. Yeah. You know what I mean? And particularly with kids, and it's back to that shitting on each other and ourselves. Like I mean, as a mom, I'll say I've often been my own worst enemy by being in that. I mean, especially as a working mom, like checking the box. Okay, this is how we're going to play backgammon, or we're going to do this. And then it's like, okay, make plans and watch God laugh. Right. And that's to me where real wisdom comes in, where it's like, let me be really present and throw my plans out the window and just be here to observe and connect. And that's hard when you're dysregulated. It's impossible when you're dysregulated. It's impossible when I'm going to shout out to all the working moms. And listen, there are plenty of wise, calm working moms. But for a lot of us, it's expensive to raise kids. We're busy. We're hustling. They're doing this and da-da-da. And then we're all like in this like hyper stressed out mode. But where's the answer? It's only within. I mean, that's the fucking truth. It's only within. And I don't, I say that as somebody who has gotten it wrong enough, and getting it wrong has brought me to my knees, where it's like, okay, the only other real rational option is to get it right. And that's to be present.
Yeah.
And as inconvenient as it is. Sorry, go ahead.
It's so inconvenient. It requires our cognitive flexibility. So it requires our ability to say, man, here's what I thought was going to happen. And now I have to make space for a new plan. That this isn't how this went down, or I didn't know my kid was going to come home from school in this state or like this. Here's what I thought was going to happen. And now we're making a different plan. And that requires cognitive flexibility. And depending on your neurotype, that's going to be easier or harder. Neurotypical humans have an easier time with cognitive flexibility than neurodivergent humans typically do. And it requires capacity. And so if you are at the end of your rope and you're like, I'm fried, it's really hard to navigate cognitive flexibility. And it is happening all the time in relationship.
Well, I guess my response to that, it's like, oh my God, as parents, we just have to give ourselves a break, right? And I feel like there's a lot of cognitive dissonance between I deserve a break versus I F that up and now I feel guilty. Like, and you touched on this a little while ago when you're like how you channel your mom. I mean, at times I got yelled at a lot as a kid. And so I've yelled at my kids. I mean, I'm ashamed to say, used to much more. Now I'm so much better. But those patterns that we know, in air quotes, we know we need to do better. And yet they're so imprinted in what's running the show, the 95% of our brains and our nervous, it's like our nervous system. Our nervous system is embodied. So that tendency then toward guilt, because we know better, but we're repeating patterns in terms of what we learned. Like that, when I come back to I described, these boys are my uninvited Buddhas. It's like, they're either training me to keep doing the same, or they're training me to notice and do differently. And I'm like, amen, because I've chosen differently, but it has been messy and ugly and fun and awesome and like everything in between as a parent to more and more and more get it right. I mean, it reminds me of what is in the Constitution. We form a more perfect union. Some political document. I'm not a student of history.
Yeah, one of those.
Obviously, yeah, one of those. Declaration of Independence, whatever it is. But that idea of like we are forming, a more perfect union. It's like, can I give myself a break because I continue to try to form a more perfect union with my kids, and we are healing. I'm healing as a human being, as a mom, as I bump up with where the relationship is challenging. Okay, I have a couple more burning questions for you before we have to sign off. What's your take on discipline? And let me just give a scenario similar to this scenario from a few minutes ago. There is hey, we can't do this, and here's why, or this doesn't work, or whatever it is, and a child becomes really dysregulated, rude, maybe, obnoxious, maybe even a little abusive, name calling and so forth. What is the answer? I know the first part of the answer is like co-regulate, don't overreact in the moment. Okay. But if that is a behavior that has recurred, what do you do? Is there a discipline? I mean,
yeah, the question I always ask myself is this a skill that they already have and they don't have access to in the moment, or are they building a new skill? So if they outside the moment can tell me like, oh yeah, when I'm frustrated or mad, here's what I should do, then they have this skill, they just don't have access to it in the moment. And so then I'm going to look at like, how do I increase their access? Which sometimes is going to be, how do I make sure that I recharge their battery after school before we're trying to like do homework or even really talk to each other in any capacity, or wherever you're kind of seeing that trend or pattern where they have lower capacity, which means they don't have access to that skill because their capacity is too low. Then I'm going to look at how do I increase their capacity first through sensory regulation. For some kids, it's through connection, that are high connection seekers are going to need that first. If it's that they're building a new skill, if outside the moment, I'm like, but instead of screaming or yelling or whatever, when you are overwhelmed or when you don't hear the answer you want to hear and you're disappointed or you're frustrated, what else can you do? If we're in a calm moment and I ask that and they're like, I don't know, then we're building a new skill. So I'm like, okay, cool. Here's what you could do. And when I say that, they're not doing it the next time because they're still building a new skill. They've never once on planet Earth done this, right? And so until they have more and more and more reps of doing it, it doesn't become a habit or a pattern yet. Right now, their nervous system is doing the thing it knows how to do in that moment or the thing it has access to in that moment. And so I'm looking at either increasing access or building a skill. And anytime I'm building a skill, it's going to require scaffolding. So it's going to require support before they can do it on their own effectively most of the time.
I mean, honestly, I love that answer so much. You didn't mention the word discipline. And this is, it feels like for me, how I was raised, and I think for a lot of us, it's a relic that looms large, right? This idea of punishment and you're in trouble and these kinds of things, which it's like, I mean, nobody likes that. It's often not, I mean, I feel like, and oh my God, I just think of our entire society. I mean, we've got the biggest, prison industrial complex, and not to go on and on a weird tangent, but it feels very inculcated in our society that this whole business of punishment and discipline versus what you described is so beautiful. It's like noticing, developing the skills and learning. And that's honestly that approach. It's not perfect in our family, but I've transformed from somebody who was so tough on myself. What's going to happen? I'm going to be tough on my kids. What I've really tried to do is transform when things go wrong to say, oh, what have I learned as a human being, and really tried to imbue that in the relationship I have with my kids, where it's like, okay, things just went really wrong, like really wrong. What can we learn versus you're bad and you're in trouble and you shouldn't do that? Like, it's just such a 1,000%, I was going to say 1,000%, 180 degree different, right? 1,000% different.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's key, totally, I think it's key to delineate the difference between a punishment and a consequence. A punishment is where we're like, power over, you're going to feel like shit about this. I'm going to make it so severe that you won't do this again because you're worried about feeling shame or whatever's going to happen to you. And that is what a lot of us grew up with, it's a punishment culture society, and trying to fear the punishment to prevent us from doing the behavior. When we're looking at consequences, boundaries always include consequences, that a boundary lets somebody know what to expect from me. And so if I say that, hey, you can clear the plates from your room, if I come in and clear the plates from your room, then we're going to take a break from having food in your room. If you can clear them on your own and I know they're coming out of your room, you can continue to have food in your room. If I'm coming in to clear them, we're not going to have food in your room for a little bit. We're going to take a break until you are able to clear the plates, because this is not something I'm going to take on. So that's the consequence, is that we're going to take a break from having food in your room until you're able to clean them up. Every boundary we ever set has a consequence. It's what can you expect from me
or not. And that's where like, things go sideways, yes. Right? So with boundaries without consequence is dysfunction. Okay, keep going. Just want to call that out. Not that I've ever done that.
A boundary without a consequence is actually usually, well, a boundary without a consequence is usually a request where we're like, can you please take these out of your room? Can you get these out of your room? We're asking them to do something, which is a request. A boundary is they don't have to change anything they're doing. It's what can you expect from me if this doesn't happen, or if this doesn't change, or you say this again, or whatever. If you're screaming at me that I'm a raging bitch, I'm going to walk away from you to calm my body. I'm not going to let you yell in my face and say rude things. When you are ready to be kind to me, I would love to chat. I'm going to go take space in my room and then I'll come back. Right? Like, these are just like boundaries and consequences. Here's what you can expect from me. Consequences can also be like positive outcomes of like, here's what you can expect from me. And it's not always a negative, hard, bad thing.
Well, I love you and I were chatting. We have a mutual friend, Eli Harwood. Eli, attachment nerd, we love you. She has this great example of how our dogs meet us at the door and how our dogs are like, and she does this whole thing, like totally hyper. It's totally awesome. And so when you talk about the positive consequences, I mean, we've been talking so much about the negative. I'm so excited to actually end on the positive. Like when we celebrate when our kids get it right. And, I don't know if this is part of your teachings, but what I've learned about otherwise, it's like when somebody gets it right, to really overreact in a way, I mean, not like go too crazy, I guess, but like really like let them know how good it is and how much it means to you, that can help lodge that even more powerfully, into their nervous systems. And I realize if they're kids who are like, just really need to keep it low and slow, that may be a bad advice. But for a lot of us, like even when you're describing your book, best. But when everybody's excited, you're excited, and we're sharing in that, like, you got it right. Yes, yay, you. Right? Because I feel like, again, a lot of us are in that, we're working moms or dads, we're in that check the box mode. Okay, you got that done. Great. Versus like, wait, I got it right. I got it great. And you're like, you're kind of tuned out and on to the next thing. And, it's easy to be in that like check the box mode versus in the moment, excited. You got it right. You moved the dishes, fives all around.
100%. And the consequence is you get to keep having food in your room.
Exactly. Well, right? And I was going to ask you. And I was just going to, again, call myself out here a little bit. I was having a discussion last night with one of my kids, and it was like we were in this pattern, and I was annoyed. I mean, I stayed calm, but I was annoyed, and then he walked away, and I'm sitting at the dinner table with my husband, and I'm like, I keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. And he chuckled, right? And because, again, we're evolving as a family, so I'm like, oh, who needs to change? I mean, you know what I mean? And that awareness of I'm asking, I'm making the request versus setting the boundary. And then I'm expecting a different outcome, but my energy is the same. It's a naggy energy. Oh my God, if somebody in my family calls me a nag, I want to lose my mind. Because I'm like, you have a responsibility. It's not just me. I'm coming to you for the 5th time because you haven't done the thing. But then I realize it's that same
Don't make
pattern.
me nag.
So it's like, don't make me nag. But then it's like, snap, Andrea, show up differently. Like, do it differently. And that's like back to, I shouldn't have to do it differently. But guess what? Relationships are inconvenient. You heard that from Alyssa.
Yeah.
Right. But that's, I mean, I say this in all sincerity, like,
And like
that's
in a
great
dream world,
gift.
yeah, I would make a request.
And we're not in a dream world. So it's back to, okay, you're training me. I'm training you. I mean, like for real, we're training each other. And, and it's like, how do I want to be trained? And how do I want to train my kids? Do I want to do it punitively and with fear? Heck no. I don't want that energy personally. Personally, I don't want it. And I certainly don't want to inculcate my kids with that. But having been raised with a lot of that, it's been a lot of unlearning and, if you will, deprogramming for me. And I say this again, like just in the spirit of keeping it real, and the whole show is getting open, because I know most parents are like me and had to learn the hard way. And that's why your incredible work is so important, and your teaching is so important to help people like me who are trying so hard.
And people like me. Like I grew up not in this culture. I have 4 brothers and didn't grow up in a culture of emotional intelligence. And so like, same girl. I think that is something that's so key for people to know, is that there's not a single human on the planet. Eli's fucking incredible and a phenomenal mom, and she's not perfect.
Yeah, maybe
right?
Eli.
Like,
maybe we'll put Eli, on a pedestal. No, but she talks. Yeah. No, but she even talks. What I love is how she keeps it real.
Yeah, it's so real. She's like my text a friend when I'm like, fuck, Eli, I did it. I like yelled at the kids or whatever. And she can like talk me off the ledge. And then same, I'll get these texts from her that are just like, oh my God, this part of parenting is so hard. And I'm like dropping the ball here or there. And being able to have those spaces where we can be vulnerable and real, I think is really important, because it reminds us that nobody on this planet is perfect. I did research in building emotional intelligence kids. I have a master's degree in this. I'm never left the day as a teacher or a parent and been like, wow, I was perfect today. I navigated everything perfectly. It's not the goal. It's not the goal. And you only get to navigate repair and teach kids about accountability for their actions if we have rupture and we're in relationship to navigate repair. And that's the greatest way to teach it. And I will forever get to lean into repair. Just yesterday morning on the drive to school, when my son, at one point I said, why do you feel like you need to be rude to every single human on the planet right now? And then he was like, actually, it's rude when you say that to me, Mom. And I was like, he's not wrong. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pop my AirPods in. I'm going to take a little break for a minute. I'm going to answer 0 questions. And then I'm going to come back to you. And I just needed that. I need my own little timeout. And we got to school and I said, I'm so sorry for being rude. You are correct. You were having a hard time getting out the door and I wasn't kind to you. Can we try again? And he was like, yeah.
Oh my God, I love that so much. I love it so much. It's so humbling. But here's the thing. I mean, and I know we need to go. Like, I love that so much for so many reasons, but it's like getting your ego out of it. And that can be one of the hardest things as a parent. Like, don't make me wrong, but they're showing you the mirror. And what a freaking gift. Like, get me back in my heart. Bring me to my knees a little bit if I need to. A little bit of a bitch slap. We were talking about that on another session I was doing earlier today. Like, sometimes it can be like, oh, that really hurt. And it's like, but it's just what I needed. And that's so back to my, my coining my boys, my little Buddhas, and yours sound like little geniuses. And having that courage, like, good job to you, Mama, for him to have the wisdom and safety to say that to you. I mean, part of you must have been like, what kind of fuck yeah? Right?
He does feel very safe to say things to me, let me tell you.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, in a big way like that. I mean, I feel like it becomes like, again, like, this like horror and triumph all wrapped into one little cute, cuddly 4-year-old body. But that's like the, that it's the journey. And we talked a few minutes ago or half an hour ago, whenever it was, parenting is the long game. It's the long game.
It's a long game. It's a long game. Yeah.
And it's the beauty. It's the most, I
100%.
feel like it's the most beautiful game, especially now my son just left for a boarding school, which I never expected. And I'm so proud of him. This is a choice he made because he's got a dream to be a champion tennis player. And I was like, all right, bro, that's what you want. You know what I mean? Like, it's so hard on me because I miss him. He's 1,500 miles away, 2,000 miles away. But it feels good. I mean, so, you know, as they get older and individuate and, you know, for all of the challenges and the ruptures and everything, you know, the triumphs and everything in between, it's like, oh my gosh, we got it mostly right. And that's amazing.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And like, good for you for allowing him the wings to fly.
Yeah, it has been just another part of the journey, an unexpected part. And I feel like that, just like even honoring what's unexpected, you know, we were talking about that a few minutes ago, but coming back to that real, like being present and really understanding as a parent, like I've done my job. And yes, I'm going to have a job to do for decades because I'm always going to be his mom and I'm always going to want to be there and share wisdom and so forth. But it was that humbling moment where it's like, it's not about me, even kind of. It's like, it's about him and his dreams. And so how can I help him develop? My husband, same, like he and I are very aligned in terms of like, all right, we've raised a kid that has these big ambitions and yay. And so thank you. I appreciate it. Cause and then, you know, it's like, whew, yeah, it's just, but being detached, I feel like from any outcome other than, I mean, I, you know, I journal a lot and affirmations and so forth. I just always think like, I want my kids to have just so much agency in their lives, so much love, great relationships, you know, just a deep sense of self-respect and honor for themselves and the people around them. I mean, happiness too, but I feel like happiness is so fleeting, you know, but when I think of like the depth of what I want for my child, I mean, that sense of agency and the resilience and, you know, like those abilities to, you know, to be the best version of themselves, you know, that's ultimately what I feel like I've tried to engender in them. Amen. Okay. Yes. Well, and it's back to the mirror, because the more that I'm aware of those things with them, it's like, well, how am I showing up to engender that? And, you know, whereas before I feel like I'd fight it. I mean, this actually has been like a ninja move. I hope my kids aren't watching this. They are. They totally aren't. They're like, yeah, Mom, you do a podcast? I went, oh, and we're too busy doing other stuff. No, but what I started to do, quite honestly, when I think about the outcomes that I want, rather than, because I'm so type A and like such a doer, like instead of like being annoying and kind of nagging, I'll just sit and think like, and feel it in my heart, like manifestation. What do I want for them? Like, what do I really want? Like, I really want them to have this success in the older one's case, athletically. I mean, academically too, but it's like feeling those feelings of what's really good for them, like genuinely in their best interest. And just being so aware of those intentions, like in the depth of my nervous system and body, has actually changed how we relate. And it's been like really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's powerful. Yeah, no, it's like a ninja move. There's somebody, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Laura Berman, but she's awesome. You know, she talks about all these different ways, like she'll use visualizations to, and feeling like the outcome she wants in her family. So I started adopting that. I'm like, bro, that works. So, you know,
yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And, you know, I realize there, you know, it's much more of a kind of, I don't know, like bigger picture thing versus, hey, like getting in that moment. But I feel what I love about it, I do feel like it's enabling me to show up differently rather than trying to control an outcome or, you know, nagging or whatnot. It's like I'm showing up differently. So it's kind of back to what you were even talking about with your CEP process. When I'm showing up differently, that is, and differently being more present, wiser, calmer, then that is impacting the outcome of the relationship with my kid. And it's actually easier than, it's something I wish I would have started doing a long time ago. And I realize we're like getting into the woo right now.
No, the woo's cool too. I wish I had more time to continue to hang and chat about the woo, but I actually got to go get these kids from school. So,
oh yeah, let's go get those kiddos. And congratulations again. Big kids, bigger feelings. You guys grab the book. There is so much wisdom from Alyssa Blask Campbell, and you can follow her. Sow and Seed is your Instagram, and Sow
Seed and Sow.
SEW. Oh, Seed and Sow. Oh my God. Okay, Seed and Sow on Instagram.
No, that's good.
And any other shout outs real quick before we wrap up, where people can find you, courses, any of that jazz?
Yeah, so I read the audiobook if that's your jam. I also, my first book, Tiny Humans, Big Emotions, I also read that audiobook if you have younger kiddos. Big kids is really the elementary school range. So 5 to 12-year-olds is the goal with that one. And if you are interested in bringing this to your child's school, you can always reach out to us over at seedandsow.org as our mothership. And we can see if there's an opportunity to bring it to your kid's school.
Oh, I love that so much. I mean, that really, talk about a downstream massive, stone in the pond ripple effect. Love it. And then, and last quick one, the nervous system quiz. Where do people find that again? There's a QR code, right?
Seedquiz.com. There's a QR code in the book, and then seedquiz.com.
Okay. All right. We got it all. All right. Alyssa, thanks so much. I've loved talking to you. This has been outstanding. I'm feeling like a much more empowered parent at the end of this discussion.
Love it. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you guys. I hope you loved that episode as much as I did. I am sincere. I feel so on fire, both joyful, oh, I get to do this job, and dang, I get to do it even better after talking to Alyssa, and honestly feeling like I can own my own mistakes. And I try to keep it real with you guys. I've had plenty of mistakes as a parent. They've humbled me. They've even brought me to my knees at times. And I know you can relate. And I'm glad to say, just when I think about how, yes, it's my personality. I tend to focus on what I got wrong. But as I get older, and as you even heard toward the end, I am so much better able to focus on what I've gotten right. And that's what I want for you too, to focus on what you've gotten right, and in trying to form a more perfect union with your children and with your family. As always, please do follow the show wherever you're getting it. Like it, rate it. I would love your comments. I always love your comments. Questions, feedback, you can email me at gettingopen@yourtango.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. I bring you the show along with my team with our full hearts and with so much gratitude to be able to bring you these amazing guests and amazing insights. I hope you love it, and we'll see you in the next one.